All right, welcome back. It's the second part of the Free Speech Show. I'm Bill Bronner, and I have an announcement. If you're going to be in the Los Angeles area the week of August the 1st on the 5th, which is next Sunday.
What year?
2007. There's a special show, Comics Stand Up for Peace and Freedom. It's going to be at the Powerhouse Theater in Santa Monica, and Rick Overton is going to be part of that. Gary Gordon is going to be part of that. Paul Krasner, who's a legend in stand-up comedy and politics. Larry Hankin, a famous character actor. Charlie Hill, and James Tripp, Robin Roberts will be in Donna Janicek. And that Donna Janicek in a miniskirt is unbelievable. I don't know Donna. Probably 80. Yeah.
She's very funny. Over 65.
She's a singer-songwriter.
Very funny.
Yeah, very funny singer-songwriter. We'll go into our regular show soon, but I just remember I did the Jerry Rubin New Year's Eve show.
Right.
And they had like LA's preeminent political poet, and I followed her, and she did like 3 different poems, and one was like really serious, like feed the people, and then there was a kind of a fun one, and then there was the America, stop killing the children. Now the comedy styling is a little wrong, it's
We're talking about killing.
right. Yeah, thanks for firing them up there.
I've always found with poetry it's really hard to rhyme people.
People.
Steeple.
Steeple.
I'm out.
Yeah. Feed the people. Steeple.
Sheeple. Will, have you seen this new ad for Scion?
The car?
The Scion car that shows these things called deviants that are these little horned things with an X for a face that opens up to a giant jagged maw of teeth, and it says, and it's a story about how the sheeple would drive cars that weren't Scions. And the sheeple believed that they would be fine, but then they were scared because the Scion showed up, this humble little ski boot of a car that has this horned thing, and it eats the sheeple and takes their heads and kicks them around in the street.
This
is the ad, and it's like a video game version of an ad where you get to kill and eat sheeple with your little Scion car. We are being taught to be evil everywhere.
Yeah.
And
In our marketplace, we
Let
are
me just
shown
tell-
our most horrible behavior. That is like evil stuff. And if you look at it twice, now that you see the ad, you will not see it as the benign cartoon ever again. I just wrecked your fucking character.
all right, well, tonight's topic is corporate greed, government incompetence. Does the middle class stand a chance, or have a chance, or however I phrased it when I sent it out? But so that's what we're talking about tonight. And here's the situation: is this government, the incompetence? I mean, we have the war, the inability to catch Osama, the Katrina. We have perhaps the most idiotic attorney general of all time. Let's talk about that incompetence to begin with. What is your take on what's going on with Gonzalez?
Well, I don't think, maybe it sounded facetious in the bit that I did, but I don't think that from their point of view in terms of what they want to get done, that they're behaving incompetently. You alluded to this too. They really do want to wreck the system. I think the end game is to convince everyone that the democratic experiment to have a democracy has failed. And we need to become more rigid about the way we go about things, and step by step they are. So the only thing that Gonzalez has been incompetent about from their point of view would be he didn't quite finesse the questions well enough when he was brought before the committee.
Like he doesn't have the command that Cheney has.
Right. But
Sure.
they're even turning
Oliver North.
that, I mean, they're turning that to their favor too. You know, they're saying he's being berated by the Democratic Congress, it's all political. You know, and Bush has this thing of well, on one level, sticking by his, the folks who were with him, but on another level, he's just a functionary doing exactly what they want. I mean, they got rid of all those attorneys. That hasn't been reversed. So
Yeah, from the time that Dick Cheney headed up George Bush's vice presidential selection committee and came back and said, I found your man.
Yeah.
You do have to wonder whether or not it's actual incompetence or if it is a designed, failure.
Uh-huh.
So,
Continue.
well,
So the fix is in.
and
Yeah, of course it's in.
where are you gonna go?
It's rigged. Come on, it's rigged. Come on. The Democrats, well, we tried again. Hey, at least we got that bicycle path put in at my kid's school.
Now,
They're playing that week. They are the majority and they're acting like a minority. They don't pound on the other guy's doors. They could have gotten all the votes for everything. They're faking being this weak. No one is actually this weak who's in power. They play it out so that I'm the Democrat. I get everything. I mean, I'm the Republican. I get everything I want. I'm the Democrat. I don't get anything I want. No one wants to be me.
well, I mean, it has come down in the not even a year that the Democrats have controlled Congress. How do they explain the inability to accomplish anything and continue to fund the war and give, now they're trying to pass a new security kind of bill this week and before they go on this hiatus because
Well, yeah, but earlier Rick and his routine was talking about we've been duped.
right.
If you analyze, and I've done a little bit of this, the election returns from 2006, state by state, district by district, and there's a pretty good book by Larry Zapato about this, or it's Sabato, I have a hard time saying that. You can see that the Democrats who were elected were not all alike, they were not all uniform, they were not all against the war. They got elected on a variety of platforms with a variety of nuances and exceptions and variations, and but the media, which doesn't want to differentiate, because it's more convenient to play as if there are two parties instead of one big one, so they don't differentiate, so they didn't break it down that way. They were like, the Democrats got elected, and they are now not ending the war like they said they would, except if you look, a lot of them didn't even say that they would. And unfortunately, the left has fallen into that too, because they're saying, you guys were elected to end the war, and you haven't. So everybody's buying a myth here. And when you get everybody buying into a myth, you just got to look at, okay, what's the advantage of that? Whose agenda is in play? And it seems to be serving everybody to work that agenda, but it's based on a false premise.
So the Democrats are playing like the wounded animal, and the Republicans are playing
Good cop
like
and bad cop.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm looking at how that is playing out in the fundraising campaigns of the Democratic candidates. I mean, this is the very first time in my memory that the Democrats have outraised in contributions for their presidential campaign.
Well, I think there's a feeling among the public that they want to change.
Right.
I happen to be active in the Peace and Freedom Party. Steve was talking about alternative parties earlier. I don't believe that Democrats represent the kind of change that's necessary if we want to save the middle class and the working class and poor people and improve foreign relations and on and on.
So what about Kucinich?
Yeah,
I wish he was running on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket. I mean, he's never going to get the nomination.
Well, let's not say that anymore, because by the way, those are our worst enemy's words. Let's
Okay.
never use them again. Let's ban them from our vocabulary. Let's be wrong
What,
later
then
if
you'll
we're
never
wrong,
get
but
it?
let's pretend it's going to happen right up until then, because who knows who you inspired if you did. I'm voting for Kucinich, and I will paste the punk who challenges me on it out in the street. We'll settle this wherever the hell you want. But
I lived in Cleveland when he was the mayor, so I'm with you, man. He's already
yeah.
battled. They tried to recall him when he was
Yeah.
mayor.
No, he's a
It's-
very, very good guy.
He's
No doubt about it.
the worst people on earth don't want him to be president. What does that tell you?
Exactly.
The lowest, worst, crookedest people hate him the most. What does that tell you? Get your decoder ring out. It's simple. It's him.
Flip it. Exactly. He's a congressman and can't even be considered to be elected president. What chance does the middle class have?
Well, and and it's just the dismissiveness of the mainstream media. Kucinich, is
Right, he's short.
Yeah, exactly. He's short. He's he's a wacko, and they paint these people. I
They're
mean,
lying.
The lion.
They're like Chris Matthews. Did you see him like, what is Gravel saying?
Yeah, Gravel was written off as a hothead.
As a what?
As a hothead. And here he is, a guy with
Yeah,
extreme
anyone who tells the truth is a hothead.
extreme gravitas, Incredible experience, was there the last time we were in a quagmire and worked against it, and he's the hothead.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the whole Republican slate, they're reasonable.
Yeah, what?
And Hillary acts like she's the voice of experience. Well, Gravel, while she was in Yale, Gravel was in the Senate.
Yeah.
She's lording that over Obama, like, oh, you little neophyte.
Right.
Bill
Clinton was what, 42 when he was elected president?
Right. Am
I wrong? He was 42, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
I mean,
Obama was already 45.
What does it really experience have to do with being president?
I actually think, because I used to be in government, I think it has, that knowing what you're talking about and having worked with a variety of people and getting the nuts and bolts done so that you can make changes. I think that's good. That's why in a lot of ways governors get elected more than senators or congressmen, because they've actually been the head administrative officer of their jurisdiction.
And do you think the voters really give a crap? Oh, that guy was a governor, and that guy.
And it plays out electorally.
I think
it definitely plays out
sometimes
like
yes,
that.
sometimes no. I mean, I think this Bush, got a lot more credit than he deserved for having been the governor of Texas. Texas has a very weak form of governorship,
Right.
where actually the lieutenant governor has almost the same amount of power, and neither of them had that much power. But a lot of people said, Bush has been the governor of that huge state.
Right.
They buy into that. But I do think experience makes a difference. Kucinich has experience. He's been in there a long time. He did an incredible job as a mayor in Cleveland fighting the utilities.
Exactly.
It's not a war about the right wing or the left wing. And it's even going past rich and middle class or poor. It's the smart or the stupid people. It's dividing on different lines. It's the ones who fall for the lie no matter what and what info you show them. Oh, you're being paid to take me off of this lie. Look where I live. What are they paying me to do it? Look how I live. There's only one. Oh, then you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking all this time to be so specifically researched crazy. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, you're stupid.
Yeah, to what extent is the
You're
middle class
naturally
dug the
doomed
hole for
stupid.
themselves?
Well,
Just by going with whatever they're being told and being sheeple.
Yep.
you get the book that, can't think of his name, What's the Matter with Kansas, where all kinds of people voted against their own economic interests
Right,
because of other
right.
cultural
Right.
issues, like how
Because
they
of
felt
gay
about
marriage.
abortion or
Right,
gay marriage
right.
or whatever.
Right.
Immigration.
People get diverted. You get the attack book on Michael Moore. The opening line of one of the chapters is, he never held a job. Like that suddenly means that what he told us about General Motors and jobs,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
or guns, or the invasion of Iraq,
Right.
or healthcare,
Or
is
bowling,
wrong.
for that matter.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
You
all
have to
wrong
be
because-
stupid for that comparison to work.
Right, exactly.
Because a smart person go, no, but there's people who don't have the job that have other research that would still be of value.
Mm-hmm.
I need a simple answer. Oh, shut up with your kind of, and so they were trained now to attack complicated things. And this is complicated issue. No, it's as simple as that. No, it's your RAM space is this big. and if there's more info than your RAM space, you get angry at the rest of that RAM space because your brain is this big.
Well, now, has corporate economic strength, is it too late to rein in corporate power and I mean,
Never.
Does anyone in government really have the political will or the character to take on the big corporations?
Some of them do. Ed Markey has been in Congress for a long time. I mean, I was familiar with his work more in the late 70s when he was working against nuclear power and related hazardous materials issues. But he's still plugging away on consumer issues and toxic waste, environmental issues. And, I think he gets it. But that's one of over 400 congressmen. There are 70 congress people that have signed Kucinich's impeach Cheney bill.
Wow.
Now, you know that if there was a Republican president, if there was a Democratic president like Clinton, and
Right.
70 congressmen had signed that kind of bill, I mean, the news would be running with that every night. But this goes back to the media.
The news has become America's enemy.
Yeah.
They distract us from the truth more than they give us the truth. They are war criminal bad people, enemy to man, bad.
They are. You know, they've essentially become the head of Hayes or what? Who was the gossip columnist? I mean, but that's what our media has become. It's become like a giant social gossip columnist.
Right, right.
It's poison.
Yeah.
They're cancer.
Well, one thing is that we've become dependent. I mean, we didn't wake up in the morning and say, I want to be dependent today. But the fact is, we as a people have relinquished the democracy, as flawed as it was, that was handed to us when it was created a couple hundred years ago. Bit by bit, we've relinquished certain aspects of it. We've become dependent on a food supply system, a clothing supply system, a utility supply system that is so out of our daily control that you know we have a tough time grappling with that, and we don't participate in the process either because we're stupid or because we feel like we don't have the time. A lot of people are overworked. Ralph Nader, 30 years ago, I heard him speak, and he said if people followed their elected representatives the way they follow ball players, we'd have an incredible democracy. And I've always hung on to that thought because it's so profound and so true.
Well, it's sports, you know, we all love sports, till you realize it shows you, it's training that for the right reasons, you can hate your neighbor who lives 3 blocks away from you. You learn it in high school. You are going to kill those kids who live 3 blocks from you next weekend.
That's true.
And it's side training and break the rules for the right reasons training. And insane loyalty to a furry animal on a sweater training.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was thinking about that. When a player slides into a base and he knows he was out, but the ref calls him safe, we think it's good that he keeps his mouth shut.
Right.
You know.
Team winning is more
Yeah.
important for your town than honesty or truth.
Right. He doesn't stand up and go, hey, by the way, you know, you miscalled it, the guy tagged me. He just, hey, got away with that one.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
got
I think
away
that's
with it.
exemplified by the way Gonzalez has testified before Congress.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's no longer about disclosure and I'm an honest guy trying to do a job. It's, you know what, I'm going to obfuscate and avoid the answering your question and try and mislead you by going in a different direction. And it's all about winning now. It's not about I want to be a good public servant.
And that's what makes it hard as far as the answer to the question of does the middle class have a chance? Because if you're not thinking like that, at least as the playing field is set up today, you're not going to have a chance.
Right.
And so do we have to get as dirty as they are in order to compete on the same playing field?
Do we have the weapons to implement to become as dirty as they are?
No.
They have a network of money things. The only other thing you have is you get inside the head of a person who thinks that's a good idea. It
Just
is
be
the
better.
one gift entertainers have, is get into the soul of a person who does that and go, you think that if you've sold out your own species, that the guys who hired you are going to need you when you're done? You think that you're of any value to them besides landfill once the trader who can turn on anyone is just wandering around after their mission? You're next, stupid.
There you go.
Well, we got
We need to hear
to wrap the show up and normally give everybody a final moment to summarize their thoughts or promote their projects. So, Gary, any final thoughts about corporate greed and government incompetence?
Well, I don't think the government's as incompetent as it's fun to make them out to be. I think they're working by design. There is no differentiation at this point between corporations and government. So corporate greed is government greed, is wealthy people greed for the most part. And my analysis has always been there's 3 ways to change things. The society either has to become ungovernable to the point where they go, oh my gosh, we've got to address this. Or you got to elect people who you don't have to plead with to do the right thing. Oh, please eliminate at least one of the nuclear weapons, you know. Or you have to overthrow it. And since I'm not ready to take up the overthrow part personally, I don't advocate that. I work in the electoral process, which is a long-term game at this point, and we may not have the time.
Gary Gordon.
Right. Yeah, I've always said that I want to revolt or overthrow the government, but I think I would be that guy playing the fife, with that bandana on. So I'm not ready to get to that point too. But my suggestion about, Xing out the Democrats and Republicans is almost a passive act of rebellion that I think anyone who feels questionable about what the two major parties are doing can undertake. And, it's something that can physically be accomplished. So I'll reiterate it again. Got to get rid of anybody with a D or an R next to their name. And that includes if it's a Clinton-Obama ticket. I'd be like, oh, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Real Steve Smith.
Stop being shallow. Stop being so frickin' shallow and greedy, and stop being a me first liberal with an air cleaner. Fix the actual air.
Rick Overton. So I sent $6 to Brazil to plant a tree so I can drive this week. No,
How much money did you send to Paraguay so that Bush can drive the...
But really, I mean, it is time for Americans to do something to shock the system. And even if it's just Bloomberg, even if we just gotta,
Right.
have any kind of a third-party candidate with a couple $1 billion to break through the money barrier and show that yes, a third-party candidate or independent guy could win. I mean, we just need that one breakthrough, that one where the dark horse escapes and wins a race, perhaps to bring our country back to serving the people rather than serving the money interests. Next week we have a great show. It's parenting. Nobody's perfect. And we have Amy Simon on that, Carol Ann Leaf, I believe Steve Tatum. I will be on that show, of course. And I want to thank everyone who was here tonight. Free Speech Show. Keep watching.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, Bill.